Hello and welcome to the short Vort on Parshas Ve'era. We now have 7 Makos. Vav Aleph of Ve'era is Gematria 6, 1, and 7. I'm going to share two different answers to the question of why is the miracle of Hal such a wondrous miracle, and that Moshe Rabbeinu could not daven in response to Paro's desire in a city with idols. He had to go outside of Egypt, as well as a little bonus on an insight of who the Chafetz Chaim was. So the first of our Torah is from the Shem Mishmuel, Rav Menachem Bornstein, the Sakachava Rebbe, and this was given 101 years ago, 5678. Right now we're in 5679, and so the last of the Makos in this parsha is Hal, is Barad, and Paro asks after this that Moshe should pray for the plague to go away. And Moshe responds, this time he says, when I have left the city, I will stretch out my hand to Hashem. Rashi says here, in comments, when I've gone out of the city, meanings, but not within the city. And why would Moshe Rabbeinu not pray within the city? That's because of the avodah zaros, the idols that were within the city. However, the Sakachava Rebbe asks, this is strange because we've seen other cases, such as by the frogs and by the locusts, that Moshe also prayed to get rid of the Makos, and yet he didn't feel he needed to leave the city. So this gives us a hint that there's a special nature of Hal, something that in a time of such miracles was even on a higher level of natures. Moshe is told that stretch out your hands upon the heaven, netei esed yadcha al ha-shamayim, and there will be Hal over the land of Egypt. Rashi here comments on the words al ha-shamayim. He explains first pshat is that towards heaven, which is what he explains elsewhere by different Makkah, that it's just pointing to heaven and that's it. But he also goes that there's a MIdrash Agada that God lifted Moshe l'mala min hashmayim, above the heavens. So it's important here to realize that the comment, therefore, is not just on the phrase of al hashamayim general, because by a similar circumstance, by another Makkah, he doesn't explain it. And that's because this Makkah of Barad needed a special miracle that was above heaven. So what is Hal? Hal is it's water, it's rain, it's water coming down, it's ice, but the Barad was ice and fire, which normally do not go together. Either the fire will boil out the water, or the water will pull out the fire. So this miracle in a miracle is something that they only did and reconciled these two enemies because it's Hashem's will. And we see this concept elsewhere, because when Hashem created the Shemayim, the heavens, so that was also something that was above the regular Teva, because there it's from a root of the words Eish Umayim. And if you say that quickly, Eish Umayim, you get Shemayim. So there was also something special in order to create such an area of conflict. So therefore it was a higher domain than normal, above heavens, and therefore Moshe had to pray to this higher level above, and he had to have a higher kedusha. And that's why when it comes to being in a city of idols, here Moshe Rabbeinu had to purify his tefillos and concentrate so much that it was not enough to pray in the city. Because we see halachically, we live amongst goyim, we can pray if there's avodah zarah in the neighborhood, you can't be facing it, or even if there's dirt, you have to go away, and dung and other waste products, you can't daven near those items, but you can cover them up, but you don't have to leave the city. So here, because this was such a high level to initiate the miracle, Moshe had to go out on a high level above the Shemayim to pray, and with such concentration in order to get rid of it. So that's why Moshe in this case had to leave the city. Another answer that I saw This is from the MIdrash Rabba by Artscroll. It quotes based on Panim Yafos, Maril Diskin, that by the other plagues, there was something different. This plague was a plague of where, since the Avodah Zarah of Egypt was the sheep, and normally the sheep was outside the city. Because some of the Egyptians actually believed the word of God, that Moshe said that this plague would come, put your animals inside the house. So the sheep were actually brought into the city. And since these idols were brought into the city, and Moshe had to go this time outside the city, unlike the other plagues, he had to go out to pray where the sheep were not. And an interesting point that the Rameir Shapiro of Lublin, so he tells that he still wonders, why couldn't Moshe just go to another room? Why did he have to leave the city? Somewhere's private where the Avodah Zarah was not there. And he said he was able to figure out the answer based on some comments of the Chafetz Chaim late in Rameir Simcha HaKohen's life. That the Chafetz Chaim once said that, I can tell that the quality of sneas and other items have declined, and we're talking over about 100 years ago, and it's gotten worse. And Rabbi Shapiro asked the Chafetz Chaim, how can you tell? You're homebound, you never go outside, how do you know what's going on in society that it deteriorated? So he said that he can sense the impurity and the chutzpah that's going on outside, and it was no longer the level of kedusha that he previously had sensed. So if the Chafetz Chaim has this power to sense purity and impurity, so surely Moshe Rabbeinu would be able to sense, and therefore to be in a room within a city of idol worship, of Avodah Zarahs, that would not suffice. He had to leave far away to get away from the impurity that he can sell. So I think we could learn the lesson from here, the importance of getting far away from impurity in order to best get our tefillos accepted, and as well as to maintain high holy levels of purity in our lives. So thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful Shabbat.